Let's now move to what's the third principle of high growth potential. Now, I'm going to describe this like this. I have a big sign. It's on the front of my shop. It's on the front of my factory. It's my website, okay? And it says everything that I do, okay? And what it's saying is, I'm open for business. Please come and buy. Would that be a successful strategy? You walk along a main street and you see all these restaurants. A third are closing and a third are opening. Restaurants have the highest closure rate of any sector. And why? Because they sit there with their menu on the door and they go, we're open for business. Do you want to be in the we're open for business business? Do you want to be in the let's hope customers come? Let's hope they see us. Let's hope they come in. Let's hope they buy something. Let's hope they go tell all their friends. Do you want to be in that business? I don't want to be in that business. I'll tell you the business I want to be in. I want to be in the business where I've got the names and addresses of every prospect. I want to be in the business where I can actually get in front of them. I want to be in the business where I can put a compelling proposition to them, and I want to be in the business where I can put my hand in their pocket and take out the money. I want to be in the business of what's called clearly identifiable and reachable customers. I do not want to be in the hope business. If I want to drive a growth business, I have to be proactive. I have to go to my customers. Now, there's another dimension to this. And the other dimension to this is I want all my customers to look and feel and have the same problem. And why do I want that? Because I want to be in a marketplace where they talk to each other. And why do I want to be in that marketplace? Because I want referral sales. I do not want to be one day dealing with a bank, next day a manufacturing company, next day a fish farm, and the following day an agricultural enterprise. Because even if I've got the best solution going, you can't tell me that the agricultural enterprise is going to ring the bank for reference. They're going to say, but we're in a different business. How do I know it works for agricultural enterprises? And if I'm dealing with banks, you know, they're not going to ring the importer. They're going to say, we want to talk to another bank. So one of the fundamental characteristics of high growth enterprises is they have a set of customers that have a lot in common. So that not only are you building up this learning curve effect of understanding their language and their problems and their characteristics, and so therefore you're speeding up communication, all your messages are resonating with them, but you start to speak their language so they know immediately you understand their business. But as I implement products and solutions, what they're doing is they're telling their mates. You know, we have to understand that in every sector there are trade magazines, there are trade conferences, there are trade exhibitions where like people get together and they talk. And if you're back up there with the compelling need, believe me, the thing they're going to be talking about is solving their compelling need. And if you've got a good solution, that's what they're going to be talking about. So you should get to a point where the evaluation part, you know, the search, evaluation, decision, implementation, the evaluation part comes down. Because if I'm buying something that a trusted colleague of mine has bought and used, my evaluation period will come down. If I'm talking about the search time, the time to recognise and find a solution, and other people are telling me already about the fact that they've solved this problem, that time comes down. So all of this time starts to come down and your sales cycles dramatically reduce. So this is fundamental, that you look for a connection between the problem you've got and this clearly identified and reachable customer, that you spend more and more time doing the same thing for the same set of customers. You find a distribution channel that gets you in front of them, or gets you to the point where they buy, or connects you to strategic partners that can get you to them. But this is fundamental to growth. So, the questions. Try this internally. Define the customer. Write it out. And then ask each person in your business to write it out. Who's our customer? And I want you to do it in such a way, with some depth, that you can predict who the customer is going to be. And you can say that when I've got this definition, all my customers look like this. That is a really tight customer definition. By the way, you might try the opposite. This is a great exercise, by the way. Go to your customer. Ask them, who are you? Ask them, what problem do you think we solve? Now, if you've got a disconnect between who the customer is and the problem, believe me, you've got a serious fundamental impediment to growth. Because both parts, everybody inside your organisation and all your customers, should have the same view. Because how can I refer you to someone else when we've all got a different opinion about what you do? How can every person in my organisation help me get to the right customer if they've all got a different view of who the right customer is? So the right customer and the right problem match is pretty fundamental. When we talk about the customer, who are they, where are they, what do they buy, where do they buy, what problem are they solving? These are the fundamentals for you to get this element right. What else do they buy? What other companies do they buy from that we could potentially partner to? Which of the companies they buy from are satisfying compelling needs that are opening doors quicker than we can? Can we partner with those strategic partners? So we've often said, certainly in the software application industry, we need to align ourselves with a software supplier that's selling payroll or selling regulatory compliance, because they get through the door quickly, we follow them through. And often customers will buy a portfolio of products because they prefer to deal with a single supplier. How many of you are actively and aggressively using internet and Web 2.0 marketing? Okay, I can't say I'm an expert. What I can say is you dramatically need to have a look at it. I talked to an entrepreneur the other day that said that they were in a relatively specialised marketplace. They set up a website for people to talk about the problem, not to enhance their product or to sell their product, but just as a focal point for people to come and converse and blog and talk about this particular problem in their industry. And of course, they had the banner ad. They ended up getting like 8 times more leads over the same period of time once the website was up and working than they had in the equivalent period before that. So whether you are YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or website or articles, you simply need to understand the technology and how the technology might apply to you, but certainly don't ignore it. So here's some actions. I spend a lot of time with my entrepreneurs getting them to define what their business is, who their customer is, what product they should be selling, the way they should be selling it, the strategic partners they should be connecting to, and the sort of pricing that they should be putting into their product. And it often has a fundamental effect on their growth potential. So working through this exercise internally is a great way to do it. Go to your customers and go to your suppliers and do the same exercise. Talk to your customers about products and services and problems and needs, and start to refine what you're doing. If you're in too many products and too many services, you can't really get the learning curve effect or the economies of scale. You can't develop the vocabulary, and you can't connect essentially with the customer that's going to, in the end, drive your highest growth. So getting rid of stuff is good. Bringing it back, narrowing it is good. Getting into a deep niche market, in the end, will drive higher growth. From a growth point of view, it's better to replicate what you do than to go broad. I mean, I know that in startups, we typically grab everything that's moving in front of us because we have a survival problem. But once you're beyond survival, start to come down to what you do really well and what drives the highest customer value, what drives the shortest sales cycles, and then from a growth point of view, do more of the same. Don't tend to do other stuff. I talked to a consultant recently that had done a phenomenal consulting job on improving the productivity of parking meters for city councils, improving the supply chain of spare parts, improving the monitoring of the parking meters, improving the speed of replacing them and so on. And they'd lifted their revenue like 6 or 7% out of this exercise, which actually can be pretty phenomenal. And he was about to go on to another project around some other aspect of local government management. And I said, why don't you do some more parking meters? And he said, boring. And I said, you've just spent the whole last year figuring out how to make parking meters more productive. And I said, there's got to be 2,000 other councils around this country that have all got the same problem. Why don't you just go and do more? And he said, it's boring. And I said, well, get someone else to do it. But you know, you've accumulated all this knowledge, you can map it out, you can put a great cost benefit case, you've got great data, there's no one else doing this, you've got this tremendous competitive advantage. It's a complex problem because of all these other organisational and supply chain and procurement dimensions. So no one's going to do this as well as you. Just go do more. You know, you can grow a $5 million business on the basis of doing parking meters. Now, can you see how that works? It's so fundamentally obvious that you know, it's easy to do, but yet people don't do it. They don't ask the questions, and they also don't understand that replication is actually the foundation of growth. And we'll come back to that in a minute. Yeah. Find the right strategic partners that get to you to the right customer. Look at distribution channels that have capacity and connections and low impediments to get to the customer. And then use the good customers in all of your marketing literature, because people relate to other people in the same industry with the same problem. So start to build the customer testimonials and the blogs and the case studies so that you can use these to demonstrate your knowledge and your degree of fit.